Sippers, welcome to this episode of the Tea With Me podcast. Hey guys, cheers to us. Am I right? Cheers to us. Let me just take a little sip of tea there. And you know that I was a little sip because that cup's very hot. So it's just wee sippies. Okay, it was just wee sippies and that's it. But throughout this podcast, we're going to drink a cup of tea. We might drink two, we might drink three. Okay, some guys might be in isolation that long that they're just having straight up pints of tea on draft, and that's what we like to see. This is a real fun episode of the podcast this week. How do I know? Because some of it has already happened. I'm just going to introduce an interview that I did with EAMONN Holmes. EAMONN Holmes, I grew up known as the GMTV presenter. I knew he was from Belfast. That was about it. Then, as time has gone on, I've seen him on so many different things, being a presenter, panel shows, a news anchor, radio host, you name it. He's done it and done a damn good job of doing those things. So I did a Mike McGoldrick video, one of my alter ego, easy for me to say, alter ego characters. I was actually playing a new character there who doesn't know how to speak, and I actually just nailed it, so shut up. But EAMONN did a Mike McGoldrick video with me about 5 years ago. I sent him a message on Twitter, asked him would he do it. He was like, yes, I'd love to. He arrived to do the video, and it became clear that he had not seen the character before, and it was just through his kids that he had an association with the character. So we chat about that because I always meant to ask him about that. Like, had he seen any of the videos beforehand? And he more than answers that question. But just a complete gentleman, as you'll see over the course of this interview, gave up his time for me to do this, and he's very insightful, funny, and just I think extremely charming. He's an engaging speaker, and yeah, we did talk about a lot of silly things as you'd expect on this podcast, but also we kind of get into it as well about his career, the advice that he would have, I guess, for somebody like me. And I found that really, really interesting. A lot of what he was saying. He tells me about, sort of new celebrities, if you want to call it that, coming on the TV and how he deals with them. And there's a very, very funny story. You might have seen, I posted the clip on social media about a celebrity not sitting on the sofa when he interviewed them. We cover loads of things, and we talk about Northern Ireland as well. So many different things. He's funny. He's a lovely, lovely man, and I think you guys are really going to enjoy this episode. Before we throw into it, let me just say that we're on Patreon. So the Tea With Me episodes by now come out in lockdown on a Wednesday and Friday. We might just keep it going as that when this is all over, but Wednesday and Friday. But every Monday you get access to a secret podcast on Patreon and loads more stuff as well if you sign up. There's different tiers of membership, so you can check that out in patreon.com/teawithmepodcast. That's patreon.com/teawithmepodcast. Also, if you would like to do me a big favour, you could go on Apple Podcasts and rate and review this podcast with a real sweet review. I would really, really enjoy that. And if you have time to do it, great. We're going to launch into the episode. Oh, by the way, we all have time to do it, so don't be lying and being like, mate, I'm flat out. Nobody's flat out. We're going to launch into this episode of the Tea With Me podcast. I really think you're going to enjoy it. And thank you very much for all the episodes you've listened to before. Or if you're a new listener, where the hell have you been? This is the Tea With Me episode with EAMONN Holmes. Let's get into it. EAMONN, first of all, let me say thanks for agreeing to do the podcast. I appreciate it. It's tea with me, so I've got to find out your tea background first of all.
Yes.
Are you an avid tea drinker? What's the situation there?
Not an avid tea drinker. I do like a bit of Earl Grey Sheehan, and then I realise sometimes it's a bit fragrant, a bit, what's the word? It's like flowers sometimes, and I think, well, you just can't have that with a bacon sandwich. So
No.
you need just a Tetley or something. I don't like strong tea. I don't like dark tea, but don't like it too weak either. I do have to have sugar in it,
How many?
but I'm not up to at least two.
At least two. Upwards of what are we chatting?
So sometimes two and a bit.
Okay.
Or 4 sweeteners.
Well, you're doing long filament days a lot of the time as well, so I think that can be forgiven because you're on the go. You're working big hours. See, on the Earl Grey thing, I mean that's maybe a controversial subject on the podcast because there's been a lot of Earl Grey hate. Um, did you drink early tea before you left home? Because I feel like it's not really
No,
socially
no.
acceptable in Northern
No,
Ireland. Was that a thing?
I would agree with you. I'd agree with you. I don't think it's socially acceptable in Northern Ireland. My mother's not a tea drinker at all.
Oh,
Uh, yeah, and in fact, I don't drink coffee. So, and I'm not a sort of person, you turn on Coronation Street and they say, oh, I'm gasping for a cuppa.
yeah.
I've never been gasping for a cuppa in my life. So I don't have that urge for tea. But
No.
I quite like a tea. What I can't do, and it's a very Northern Irish thing, this. If someone says to me, "We have a cup of tea," I'd have to say, "What are we having with it?" I couldn't drink a cup of tea on its own, which
Oh, right.
is
Okay.
yes. You see, so I've got biscuits and all sorts of things like that. I couldn't just drink tea on its
What's
own.
your preferred weapon of choice with the tea?
A custard cream. I
Well,
like a
do you know
custard
what?
cream.
That's mad because spoiler alert, but one of the questions we get sort of highbrow questions from listeners here. One of which was ask Eamon what biscuit he likes to
Yeah.
accompany a tea, and this person correctly predicted that you look like a custard cream kind of guy.
Yeah, custard cream. But I'll tell you what's even nicer than a custard cream, and you rarely get them. It's an orange cream.
Right,
Do you ever
definitely
come
retro.
across?
I remember them. Yeah, yeah.
Yes, an orange cream. I do like a mint yo-yo as
Oh,
well.
yeah, yeah.
I could have that with it, but I'm not a sort of person that would take like a plain rich tea biscuit or a digestive biscuit that has to have chocolate on it or something like that. Yeah,
Right.
Kit Kat's quite nice. Twix is nice with a cup of tea.
Twix and a cup of tea. A lot of people see. I don't do weird things with food. Like I know a lot of people when it comes to a Twix will just eat the chocolate layer off the top, then the biscuit. I don't really have much time for that, but I guess each to their own.
That sort of verges on a perversion,
Yes, yeah,
I
it
would
does.
say. No,
It does.
that's a bit weird. Bit
It
weird.
is.
No, no, no.
Eamon,
But
what's your lockdown situation? What way you working it at the minute?
well, I'm not working. Basically, I say that I'm not working. Everything in the
Same.
diary is out, cancelled. There's nothing there, which is why you and me are talking, Shane.
Yes, and we're gonna be talking for the next 9 hours. We're gonna be talking for the next 9 hours.
But no, we've got this morning once a week. If things stay the way they are, we've got a week of this morning for the Easter week, the week prior to Easter. Now, the interesting thing about that is that the engineers have come to our house and wired our house up with cameras in the next room,
You gotta
so
be
that
careful.
they intend be careful. They intend to keep this morning on air. So if we have to broadcast from home, we're in a position where we can broadcast from home. But outside this morning, there's absolutely nothing there in the diary. Everything gone, wiped out.
If you were broadcasting this morning from home, would you just go like John and Yoko with it and just stay in bed?
No, it would not.
No, you
No,
would you
bed's for
would you
bed. They're
yeah,
not going to see pictures of me in bed. The other thing you don't see me doing in bed is eating. I couldn't. Someone says, "Do you
agreed.
want a cup of tea and a biscuit in bed?" No, I wouldn't want a cup of tea. I don't want toast in bed. I don't want to eat a fry in bed. I don't want to do that in bed. I know what bed's for, and it's not for eating.
I
So I'm
mean the
not an
thing
eater.
I can understand someone who just goes and picks up a snack. Personally, I don't, but takes it to bed. But the idea of going down, making a fry, you're up anyway. You know,
Yes, you're up, Annie. Why are you bringing it back to bed
why are
for?
you bringing a fry back to bed?
I agree.
I know.
No,
Is I mean, you, like, are you able to still like broadcast stuff from the house? How would you? Do you
yeah.
feel weird about doing that sort of thing in the house? Because I know you sort of needs must at the minute, but like I've sort of turned my spare room here into a bit of a studio, and I was doing a lot of work from home, and then I got a studio a couple of years ago. And definitely going out of the house to work is a lot easier. Sometimes when you're in your own house, you're just too comfortable to work.
No, but I think, Shane, I think things will change. I was saying to Ruth last week, when they were rigging those cameras up in the other room, I said to her, TV companies going to look at costs, and if their viewing figures don't fall, which they haven't, they will cut all the costs of transporting people in and out of studios and whatever. And no sooner had I said it than an email dropped asking us to pilot a program for ITV, which would involve coming from our house with other people from their houses. And I said, see, that's the way it's going to go. And that is the way it's going to go. But you're speaking from a perspective of living in Northern Ireland, whereby you can be anywhere with anybody in 10 minutes. Here, for me to get into London, 2 hours,
Oh,
and it's
okay.
ghastly. 2 hours in, 2 hours out in the car, hideous. So that motivation for me would be I could save 3 to 4 hours a day just by working from home. When I was doing talk radio 4 days a week, that was 90. What was that? 3 hours in and out. So that's a commute you don't be wanting to do. So your motivation, if someone says to you, "Do you fancy doing this from home?" You're saying, "Yeah, of course I do."
Yeah, and building some sort of space is so easy. Like this is a box room. I've got a green screen, and I don't really need anything else.
Yeah,
Try to put out a video a day, sketch a day, and and it's great. I mean, you're obviously limited. I'm limited on what sort of sketches I can film here, but in a way, since we've gone into this lockdown, I've never been more productive. Just because you've got no other options. You're not gonna you're my working week sometimes involves a lot of let's meet up for a tea and a chat, and it's not many hours of actually doing stuff. So not that this is a good situation, but for productivity for me, it's been great.
brilliant.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
and
agree.
and
Yeah,
and yeah, I think a lot more things will happen from the house. Like I do a show on Radio Ulster on Friday nights, and we did the show this week. I broadcast from my room, from this
yeah.
sort of office I'm in now, and the difference wasn't massive. It's
No,
not like you said,
there
you
are
can
there
always.
are times when it is really worthwhile to go into an office to mix in a work environment, to meet other people. That's great sociability. There's times when it's a pain in the backside when somebody wants you, for instance, meetings. I live in a world where everybody wants a blooming meeting. And you sit and if I come out of another meeting and I say, what the feck was that all about?
Yeah,
There's 2 hours of my life I'm never going to get back again. And it is absolutely scandalous. I mean, I sit on the board of, and this is one of the productive meetings though. I sit on the board of the Manchester United Foundation, which is the charity arm of the club, and I've done so for 12 years now. And I used to have to go to Manchester for a meeting that would last 2 hours or so, and then back down again. So a whole day. So it's like 4 hours up, 4 hours down, plus the 2 hour meeting. And we can now go into London where they have this video wall at United, and you
oh
can
well.
sit there, and it's even better than this. It's as if you're just sitting in the same room as people. It's absolutely incredible. Whereas I'm now going to say, well, why do I have to even go into London? Why can't we do it like this? And you Zoom or you Skype or FaceTime or whatever it happens to be. So I do think there's certain things that are going to change, and it's better for the environment. It's a better productivity of your time. I mean, since all of this has been happening, I've never been lighter. I've had time. I've had time to walk the dog. I've had time to exercise. I've had time to sit in the sun. Look at me. You can hardly see me. Look at the color I am. The
You're
same color as
glowing.
that carpet.
You're glowing.
So just having time, my friend, is incredible. And once you give that to people, it's very hard to hand that back.
I mean, it'll be interesting to see, like stand-up comedy is the main thing I do. It'll be interesting to see how that's affected. I mean, the dream is I'm just doing gigs from my kitchen. That's a
Yeah.
dream. We get an audience. I'm some sort of hologram. I don't even need to be there. Um, that's a dream. But I mean, it's weird with being a stand-up comedian because, of course, you want as many people in a
Yes.
confined space as possible. So I don't know when that's all due to get back
Well, I
to.
did a thing. I did a thing called Zoom. So we're on Zoom at the minute,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and one of my lads said to me, "Oh, Dad, you should try House Party. Have you heard of this app called
No.
House Party?" So apparently, oh, go away! His bloody phone doesn't stop. So I just turn this off. Do you also get this thing that it's funny when everybody sends you these funny COVID or coronavirus videos, and then the same video comes to you 17 times from different people, and then it doesn't become funny anymore. That's what's sort of going on there.
Yeah.
But I was talking about this House Party app, and so you join this app, this House Party, and you can have 50 people on the screen or 100 people or whatever. And the first person, once you let people know you're on it, people apply to be your house party friend, are there. And the first one was Brendan O'Carroll.
From Mrs.
as in
Brown's wife.
Mrs. Brown. I thought, that's good. That's nice. He's in my, and I saw he's in my contacts. Even forgot he was in my contacts. There he is. Boom, 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 boom. And then I have all these other names pop up. Don't know any of them. Never heard of any of them. So it appears that anybody who's in. So if you and I want to do this, and I say, I'll have a bit of Shane and whatever, maybe a couple of other people. But whoever's in your contact book can join it. Whoever's in my contact book can join it. So you're in that awful situation where people who maybe you haven't spoken to for 15 years say, just thought I'd take this opportunity, of getting in touch. And you think, well, there's probably a reason we haven't spoken for 15 years. Yes, yeah.
I mean, that's enjoyable. I mean, when you start with yourself and Brendan O'Carroll, I mean, it becomes a big. I'd like to see who how that party ends up with a lot more people. Do you have many friends that are in the same industry as yourself? In terms of you were like Brendan O'Carroll's in the contact list. Are you friendly with other presenters? What's your social circle, or are you friends with people who just?
Well, I tell you, the answer is yes. But the downside of all that is, again, this living in London business where you've got, within the M25 or so, it's a vast area. So if you say, I'm going to pop down and see Rylan Clark, for instance, who's a very good friend. Well, that's 90 minutes getting to Rylan on a Saturday night. You're in his house and then 90 minutes home again. And it's the same for anybody, wherever they live. So people tend not to bother. There's lots of people Ruth and I are friendly with. Ruth is very unshow busy. I just am friendly. We're not show busy people, but we have not what you would think the sort of Premier League type people on TV. We're more the sort of Conference League type people. We keep in touch with all them, and we're very, very friendly. There's a load of people who I could spend my day just texting people and things, and I'm more sociable than Ruth would be on that front. She's very nonplussed by it all, but I just am interested in the business, and people are often asking you advice and whatever. So that's quite good. So we have quite a lot of people. Like Ruth's best friend is Lucy Alexander, who you would know from Holmes Under the Hammer.
Oh yeah,
and the carpet ride adverts and things like that. And I mean, when I say friend, I mean good friends, because she lives nearby, so right. She's in our house all the time. We're in her house. Rylan, a tremendous friend, and Rylan's just moved into a big house, but Rylan's house was. We went to visit him one night, and he invited us down to the house, and it took ages getting there. And we got there. And you're thinking, well, what sort of house does he live in? So we go down.
I'm very keen to know what sort of house Ryan lives in, because I'm picturing a lot of like water features. I'm thinking there's maybe chandeliers. I have a vision of it.
Bit of bling. You're thinking. So you go down you come off the motorway and you start going through these areas, and Ruth's going, well, he couldn't live here, and you go to an area that's a bit like Glengormley in the 1950s or 60s. So it's just full of bungalows, right?
Yep.
And Ruth said, well, I'm sure he doesn't live in a bungalow. So you go along the street, and then there's a bungalow that becomes like a compound, which has a massive white wall around it and lights shining up on the house, and it's got an extension on the roof of the bungalow. And you realize this is his house. And it's got blue lights and things shining on the front of the house. So you go inside, but it is a bungalow. It's a bungalow that has been transformed. Like Yes, a bungalow fortress. That's exactly right. And so you go inside, and as you would imagine, you're absolutely right. He's got, it's a bit like Doctor Who's TARDIS. You go inside, and it's memorabilia of Big Brother. So he's got Big Brother chairs in there, Big Brother light switches, Big Brother. There's all sorts of Big Brother type things. Yeah. Lovely house, and him and his husband share that house, and it's very nice. But however, he did pack up a few months ago, and he's bought a new one, and it's much bigger, I believe, with grounds around it and things. But he's doing incredibly well. My God, he's doing so well. But we haven't been able to get down to see him yet. But I think, he's a lovely fellow.
Yeah, he just has that natural likability where you sort of watch him and go, he's not playing a character here. He's just 1,000% being himself, and
genuine. He's a genuine guy.
I think that's I wouldn't say you and Rylan have similar presenting styles, but I would say that's very similar with you in terms of when I watch you presenting, like when I watch you right now, and which I want to talk to you about in a little bit. Whenever we did that video years ago in Hollywood,
Yeah.
that sketch, there's no difference. Is that something you were conscious of when you started presenting, that you just wanted to be as like yourself as possible? Because you can, from doing like a tiny bit of presenting whenever I was younger, I always found myself like putting on what you would call a presenter's voice. I was trying to be something I wasn't. Did you always try and not do that, or what happened?
Tried to watch the best and forget the rest, and I still watch everybody. I could mark homework. If you name me a presenter in Northern Ireland,
Frank
I
Mitchell?
would watch them, and I could mark their homework, and I would be a very good coach. I'd be a very good producer from that point of view, because nobody helps anybody else. No one actually says to people, "You're enthusiastic, you're a good journalist, but actually you're crap on air." And it never ceases to amaze me when I switch on the television, particularly during this coronavirus crisis, and so many people are getting their chances on news stations all around the country. And you think, so that's the best presenter you have? Is that the best you can do? And it never ceases to amaze me. And I always think to myself, I thought, how did I get on? How did I actually make it in this business? And the reason I made it was that too many people aren't very good. That's the whole problem. And if you're half good at all, if you do watch the best, forget the rest, and model yourself on the best people, I think you have a pretty good chance of getting through there. But the amount of people who are not coached and not told and who can't present, basically I have this thing. If you have someone whose eyes are like this and they're watching it and they're presenting a program and they go, "Good evening and welcome to the program," well, I'd sack them straight away. Right? Basically, if you look too keen to be there, you shouldn't be there. That's basically, you don't want to get on an airplane, do you, Shane? You don't want to get on an airplane and the pilot says, "Good afternoon, everybody. Well, I'm delighted to be here and I'm thrilled to bits. We're going to be flying to Ibiza. It's going to be a flight time of, we think more or less, 3 hours, 20 minutes. And we really do hope we're going to get you there. It's going to be enjoyable." No, you want somebody to be who does the Des Lynam. "Hello there, how you doing?
Yes.
3 hours, 20 minutes. That's what it's going to take us
Bingo.
to get to Ibiza. Strap in, enjoy the ride. Here we go." That's what you want.
You want the pilot who sounds like he doesn't need to be doing this.
Correct.
He's not arsed. You want a pilot who's not arsed.
So my philosophy, and not everybody agrees with it, is that that's exactly the way you want your TV presenter to be. That's my genuine view, rightly or wrongly.
No, I like that view a lot. And I want to ask you about maybe whenever you were starting presenting or just in general. I've pitched some awful programs in my time where I've come up with an idea whenever I was a bit younger and enthusiastic, and you don't really think about it. You're like, wouldn't this be a great idea? Did you ever pitch anything yourself back in the day that you now look back on and go, thank God nobody greenlit that? Sippers, forgive me for interrupting the podcast for 30 seconds. We're going to do a charity appeal very quickly on every podcast, just because there's no sponsors kind of around at the minute. So this is this week's. It's for the Northern Ireland Hospice. Times are a bit different at the moment. Our once bustling city is now quiet and desolate. And most people are working from home, but people that can't work from home include the incredible frontline staff at the Northern Ireland Hospice and Children's Hospice, who are working tirelessly to care for local people who need it most. The impact of COVID-19 has been devastating for the Northern Ireland Hospice. A lot of their fundraising events have been cancelled. That's why we're asking for your support. Northern Ireland Hospice need your donations now more than ever. Please donate what you can today at nihospice.org/donate or text NIHospice to 70660. That's nihospice.org/donate or text NIHospice, all one word, NIHospice to 70660. Cheers. Back to the pod.
You see, most ideas are quite good. Most ideas are workable depending on who presents them. And you can look at the most ordinary formats on TV, the most ordinary formats, and you would say, well, if I pitched that, people would say no to that. But what if somebody else pitches it and their mate's a commissioner or whatever, then you're through the door. So it doesn't matter what you want to do, Shane. Really, at the end of the day, it's what they want to do. So, when the commissioners say, yeah, that's a great idea, it's because that's what they want to do. It's not that there's anything particularly wrong with your idea. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, there was quite a lot wrong with a lot of these ideas.
Go on, pitch it to me. Pitch something to me.
All right. What about? I mean, I'm thinking we have like a cross-community dating show in Northern Ireland. It's sort of like blind date, but we use the peace wall. You know,
Yes.
I'd like the peace wall to sort of come up like a garage door at the end
Uh-huh.
of it. So we're basically it's a dating show, but we're promoting cross-community relations.
Different.
Yes, yes, and they weren't keen on that for some reason,
Well,
but
they're not keen.
I'm gonna fund it myself. I've got to meet them in
You're
again. That
back.
cut out. Sorry about that. Yeah, no, they weren't keen on that, but I'm not going to give up. It's a passion project. I mean, I've got loads of
Yeah.
questions from listeners to the podcast, and we'll get through some of them if that's okay. So there's great response whenever I said we were having you on the podcast. And questions. Yep. Phil McSee says, "Can I ask what Eamon's memories are of having The Rock on GMTV about 15 years ago? He was surprisingly sassy towards the People's Champ. All in good fun, though, I'm sure. So, do you remember interviewing the wrestler The Rock? And was there a bit of a ding dong between you?"
Rock, as in the film star, the wrestler boy.
Yes.
He's a very approachable fella. He's one of these guys. You have this problem often with Americans. They're surrounded by their people, and that's a nightmare. One of them, two of them came in recently, and they said, we can't, seconds before going on air, I can't sit on that couch. I can't sit on that couch. I said, why can't you sit on that couch? I can't name this person. It'll be everywhere. I said, I can't sit on that couch. And I said, why? And they said, her people said, because she's allergic to certain fabrics. And the producers are all going, oh, no one told us there was a sofa on this program, right? No one told us there was a sofa. And and I just have that Ulster, just fucking sordid attitude, which is, I woke up and said, what's the problem? What's the problem? And like, honestly, there's seconds to go on air. And they went, well, Miss So-and-so can't sit on this couch because she's got allergies to various fabrics and no one told us there'd be a couch. So I'm immediately thinking, well, she had to sit on something. What did she think they were going to sit on? And I said, okay. I said, what are you allergic to? And she said, I am allergic to everything except linen. I said, oh, thank God. It's your lucky day. And she said, why? Why is this? And I said, because that couch is pure linen. I have these allergies myself. I said, and that is flown in from Northern Ireland, pure Ulster linen. That's it. I said, so it's so lucky. That is where I'm from. And you've got the same sort of situation. Come and sit down. I don't know what the couch was made of. Not, she didn't walk away itching or anything else. You know, but they're so woke. Some of them are so woke, and it's a
She's in
power
intensive
thing.
care now.
Oh, she was all right. She walked out again. And then another guy came in and he said, he said, I'm a representative for plastics in the ocean. I'm a crusader for plastics in the ocean. So there can't be any plastic in my dressing room. And the producers are going, you know, the TV's plastic, the door handles are, I mean, goodness knows what's plastic. I said, just lie. And they go, oh, you can't lie. And I went, hello. I went over and I said, see, that's a plastic-free dressing room. And he started looking at some things and I said, oh, yeah, but you see, all of that is all stuff that we have, which is biodegradable. Matter of fact, we can't even wash the stuff in here because if we do, it melts, you know. And they go, right. Because they're all woke, but they're all stupid as well.
Yeah,
a lot of them
yeah.
are. But people like the Rock, lovely guy, and very nice. And there are people like Tom Hanks, Pierce Brosnan, Robin Williams, God rest his soul, lovely fella, no airs and graces. There are a lot of people who you're really surprised at how ordinary they are. And the guy that plays Frasier, Kelsey Grammer, what a lovely guy. And so there's lots of people who you're really surprised, but it's the ones who are starting out and on their way up who have their people and they're surrounded by their people. Yes. And I reckon there's quite a lot of this goes with Meghan Markle as well. I think she's got that entourage from Hollywood, and, you know, you have that saying, what Meghan wants, Meghan gets. And I'd say probably a lot of that emanates from her people.
I mean, that's something I found in just a small dose in interviewing sort of well-known people and celebrities, is that almost the higher the profile of the person, the more down to earth they are. Like you say, it's people that are coming up or people that maybe just don't have that profile that compensate with like an attitude or entitlement, but you actually find people that
Yeah.
are bona fide stars.
You see, but they think maybe to be a star, this is the way they have to act. But the thing about stardom, it's the most ordinary concept, because basically it equates to this: whether you're in movies, whether in television, whether in soaps, whether you're a comedian, whatever. What it is, Shane, it's longevity. It's actually just being there for a long time, or being on telly every day, or whatever it happens to be. That's when people accept you. It's a marathon, not a sprint. It's not about winning one race or one gold medal or being on the front cover of something for 1 year or 2 years, whatever. It's being able to look back at somebody's career and say, they did that for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. That's when you become ingrained in the psyche of people. And that's what they all should be aiming at, not peaking, but just sort of staying there.
Yeah. Way more questions. Yeah, Stevie Henning says about the video. Ask Eamon about the video we did together. So one of my alter egos, Mike McGoldrick, I interviewed you in Ned's bar in Hollywood.
Yes.
Do I get the impression that did one of your sons maybe know the character and get you to do it? Is that the way it came about?
Yeah.
So I, whenever you arrived to do it, I didn't think of explaining the character or anything to you, because I was like, listen, Eamon's obviously a big fan. so I was chatting to you just like this before we were recording, nice to meet you, and we're talking a little bit about Hollywood and the bar Ned's that we were recording in, and then we said action, and I just obviously turned into this North Down socialite, and I could see in your eyes during it you were going, why is he talking like this now?
But we do all know people like that. I mean,
Absolutely.
Mike McGoldrick's based on people who we all know and we can identify with. And that's the beauty of the character that you actually had. And I'll tell you something else, Shane. When you work and are friendly with Keith Lemon, you sit there and you go, is he in character? Is he not in character? And so you don't get any more crazy than that. I mean, he's another lovely man. He's filthy, but he's a lovely man.
Well, you can tell that although, he's very eccentric, you can tell that he must be very, very popular, because so many people like yourself and like the regular guests that go on it, you're putting a lot of faith in him, I guess, on that show to take the piss, but know where the line is, I guess.
He takes the piss, you're absolutely right. But you know what? He's not nasty. He's not horrible. There's no horribleness about him. As I said, he's absolutely filthy, but he leaves you aghast, he leaves you speechless. But he's and my approach with him is to tell him he's filthy and he should be taken off TV and all that sort of thing. But he's a very nice man. There's a kindness about his humor, which is good.
I think as well, if you are like in his position and doing that sort of comedy, as long as the joke is always on yourself. So he makes the joke a lot of time on himself. He brings it back to himself. He makes himself look like the fool, very tactically. So I think that's great. Lawrence Doherty says, if Eamon Holmes has a boxing match with MC Hammer, can we call it Holmes Under the Hammer?
You could, you could. Matter of fact, they should have, the big travesty in TV is they should have put me on that show. Why am I not on that show?
Holmes Under the Hammer. Yes, it makes, and you and MC Hammer, sort of co-host. I mean,
and I need the work at the moment as well.
Yeah, you've got the. I mean, you'd have to be doing it virtually as well. So maybe I don't know if it would work. You couldn't go to the homes. Dan Murphy has a little bit of a gripe here. He says, does Eamon remember recording an episode of Songs of Praise at his old school St. Malachy's?
I do.
If so, why did he lie to us kids who came in to film it when he said he'd give us a shout out in GMTV the next day? We watched it. He didn't. A lot of unhappy St. Mac lads.
Is that right? Well, I did St. Malachy's twice, actually. And no, I didn't. I did it once in Songs of Praise. You're right. It was a different program the second time. I don't know, running orders. I mean, I'm very good at remembering people and doing things like that. Or maybe he wasn't there for the full 3 hours of the show. I don't know. Maybe he got up late. Maybe I did it at 6:10 and he wasn't out of bed. But the other thing is, it is amazing. I think it's a peculiarly Northern Ireland thing. People who have been brought up on downtown radio, Keep It Country or Radio Ulster, all that sort of thing. And they can say, loving the show, please could you give a shout out to my wife Mary and our 4 children who are all brilliant and super and fantastic and da-da-da-da and whatever. And people in Northern Ireland think that this is what TV programs are there for. I think community is very, very important, but they actually don't get that so much in England. They don't get it. There's not a lot of that happens. Matter of fact, TV is becoming more and more impersonal. So they rarely give people surnames anymore. So it's like, this is Shane from Ireland. They wouldn't say, this is Shane Todd from Hollywood, or this is Shane Todd from Belfast or Northern Ireland or whatever. It'll just make it Ireland. You could be from Killarney, you could be from Donegal, you could be,
Yes. So the show I do in Radio Ulster is called the Shane Todd Show, and normally we do eclectic music and features and a bit of chat. But last week we just decided to have a big rave and play like 90s dance music. And we've never had more interaction on the show from people wanting shout outs. We never get that. And once we started doing that, it just blew up. Like I've never.
And as a broadcaster, that makes you feel good because you actually realize you're doing something, you're touching an audience, it means something to them. Because what is the point of doing what we do if it's not relevant to people? That's what I always think. If I was listening to this, I was watching this at home, what would I think? And is this actually useful to people in some way? And you're invoking all those memories of all those people who want to rediscover their youth in the 90s.
Can we build some bridges? Can you now give a shout out belatedly to Dan Murphy and the St. Malachy's lads?
Dan Murphy and all the lads from St. Malachy's, whatever year you were. I think it was early 90s. We did that particular show. But Dan, I an absolute credit, and always lovely to be asked to go back to your old school. It took them a while. I used to be asked going back to everybody else's old schools I never went to, of course. But now, I'd do anything for St. Malachy's, and it's meant a lot to me. And I suppose the person I am today is because I went to that school. So to all the guys at St. Max.
Nice. A bit of applause as well. Great to see. Claire Moore says, what is he most proud of that has come out of Northern Ireland? So I guess I'll extend that a bit and ask you, in the last, say, decade, is there anything that's happened here, or whether it's a TV program or a sports personality, is there anyone you're extremely proud to say that person or that thing is from where I'm from?
I think in my day-to-day...
And sorry, Eamon, don't say me or I'll be embarrassed.
Beside you, Shane, beside you. I think that in my day-to-day work, when I always hear that, I always say to people don't say to me, hi, Eamon, I'm from Enniskillen. Hi, Eamon, I'm from Mahara, wherever. They just talk, and I say, where are you from? Where are you from? And then they tell me, and then I get sort of quite irked. They haven't told me they're one of us, so they're from back home.
Yeah.
And then, so I'm always proud of people who make it. I'm always proud that how we as a country punch above our weight immensely. People who lead orchestras, people who are head of engineering at various places, people who have built Britain, people who you don't hear about. You only hear about, people like me and Zoe Salmon and Rory McIlroy and, whatever. And people who, we educate people to a very high standard. I think we all have a chip on our shoulder as well, which means that we think we're hard done by and we're quite well driven. But there's so many places you realize this is a great thing for us to have. It's a great thing for us to have. But a lot of people from other parts of England have it much worse than us. And they're not as driven as us because there is, Shane, is there not something about us that thinks we'll show them or the cards are stacked against us? Because I just think we are disproportionate. We have got people in all walks of life disproportionate to our 1.5 million population.
Absolutely. And I think you can, because of the geography of it as well. So if you're an aspiring boxer and you see Carl Frampton doing what he's doing, that's a person who could potentially be brought up a mile from where you were from, or maybe
he was
50 miles, something like that. So there is.
Yeah, Carl was from Tigers Bay.
Tigers Bay, yeah.
And I used to walk through Tigers Bay, or in those days around Tigers Bay, to get to school. And it turns out Carl is married to a girl who is the daughter of a second cousin of mine.
Oh
So
wow, there you go.
so that's how small a village it is for us.
Yeah, I mean, back home there isn't 6 degrees of separation. It's three. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's three
yeah,
or usually one, and it's because your uncle played five aside with the person in question.
yes.
Owen McMahon says, "Is Alan Partridge really as good a friend as he says he is?"
No, I used to like the Alan Partridge character. Not so sure. No, I don't only ever hear him saying bad things about me, but so I don't know the friend business. But it sort of annoys me when people think that Partridge is based on me because he's the antithesis of what I would be. We all know who he is based on. We all
Yes,
know
yes, yes,
he's a
absolutely.
composite of probably two other presenters. But the thing is, if I say who those two other presenters are, then the rest of the clickbait media will all go, "Oh, shock
Yeah,
horror!
yeah,
Raymond
man,
Holmes
I
says
could do with
this."
a podcast. You used to say it.
Yeah, yeah, no, I'm not saying it.
No, I
I'm not
think we
saying
do.
it.
I think people that know that character well
Yeah,
know exactly who you mean.
but he's well researched from the point of view that the characters do exist. The characters
Yes.
absolutely do exist. Yeah, that who he becomes. Yeah.
So a load more questions. This
Yes,
isn't a question, but Vicky Allen just says, "I love his wife." Not a question, more of a statement.
Vicky, you should live with her. See how much you love her. Well, that's very nice. You see, Shane, I used to be Eamon. I used to be there's Eamon Holmes. Now I go home and I just need a sign round my neck which says Ruth is not with me. Because as soon as I go home, the first question to me isn't hello Eamon, how are you? Whatever. It is Ruth not with you. Ruth not with you. That's all. So it's just that question, Ruth not with you, and you feel like saying, does it look as if Ruth's with me? No, she's not with me. She's not with me. And no, so yeah, so I'm now Eamon and Ruth, or probably Ruth and Eamon, really. No.
Ewan Mull says, and this is a big one, honest opinion on iced tea.
Iced tea. Don't
Iced
see,
tea, yeah.
yeah,
You don't see it as much.
I don't really see the point of it, really. I've tried it a few times, and I either think you have a soft drink or you have a cup of tea. I'm not really sure the iced tea business in between. I have tried it. I've tried to like it, but no, I don't. No, no.
This is a question from Johnny Bow who says, most famous person on your phone.
Probably Alex Ferguson.
Great
Um,
shout.
probably. I'm trying to think. It's surprising. Sometimes you've numbers in there and you forget that they're there. But Ollie Moores is in there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Who else is in there? There's quite a lot of people, but but I mean, I suppose in terms of fame at the moment, Sir Alex, yeah, probably.
Let's stay on the football theme from a final question,
Yeah.
which is from Dylan O'Neill, who says, and I'm a Man United fan as well. I don't know if you can see the scarf
Yes,
there
very good, very good.
from the, I think, 93-94 season.
Yeah, I'm
But
trying to point out. Where's all those bits I'm trying to point out? Oh, yes.
what's your
Anyway,
number one bit of memorabilia in the background there?
what's my number? What? Where?
Your number one bit of memorabilia in the background there?
Well, there's some grass from the new camp in Barcelona from the '99 match. There's a pair not in this room, but I've got a pair of Ryan Giggs's boots. I've
Oh,
got
quality.
Eric Cantona's Return of the Magnificent Seven shirt. I would have loved to have had a George Best shirt or Northern Ireland shirt
Yeah.
or something like that, but no, I've got that. So I suppose those are the main bits. What I do have of a room upstairs, and I saw this at the Manchester United offices in London, and they have mannequins mannequins, headless mannequins.
Yeah.
So they have various kits on them, and I thought that looks good. So I've got 4 mannequins in a room I have upstairs where I watch football, and they have different kits on the different United kits on them. Ruth thinks it's creepy and doesn't go into the room. Sometimes I fall asleep and wake up and I think, who's that in the corner? But yeah, looks well.
I'm a huge fan of old Man United shirts. I got about 3 last year, and we're talking mid to late '90s shirts. And the only thing is, I don't wear them as much anymore. I stopped wearing football shirts day to day about 3-4 years ago. I just thought I just have to wear normal type clothes now. But I think this lockdown might be the perfect opportunity to just get the football shirts on. So the last question, keeping it football related, from Dylan O'Neill is top question for you both: top 3 Man United players of all time.
Well, I would do. Oh, that's difficult. Of course, it's so difficult. Of course, it's so difficult. Of all time, certainly the ones that I have seen. Right, I would put it like this. I would say, oh, I know two straight away. Right, it's getting the other one. Oh, such a hard question. Okay, right. Let's say
I've got my 3, so I'm ready for yours, and we can compare.
this is very difficult because I feel like I want to have Dennis Law and Bobby Charlton in there. I feel that I'm going to go for somebody more modern, and Peter Schmeichel ranks up there big time for me. Ryan Giggs ranks massively, but the guy who we've missed an awful lot, midfield maestro Paul Scholes, right, at number 3.
Yep.
At number 2, without a doubt, the most amazing catalyst of the modern era, Eric Cantona.
Mm-hmm.
And just an absolute privilege to have watched him play. And at number 1, whether it's with retrospect or what, but, you know, when I was 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, whether in a United shirt or Northern Ireland shirt, there's just George was magic. So George best. So Scholesy, Cantona, and Georgie Boy at number 1.
So my top 3 is totally different.
Yeah.
At number 3,
Yeah.
I'm going with Cristiano Ronaldo.
Yes, of course, yeah.
At number 2, somebody that wouldn't be in most people's even top 10, but I just think he was 8, 9 out of 10 every game. Rio Ferdinand, number 2 for me.
Yeah. Good considered selection there, yeah.
No, because you know, defenders don't get enough credit.
And you're absolutely right. Absolutely.
Player of the Year awards, all that kind of thing. Number 1, Roy Keane for me.
Yeah. No, well, can't argue either, mate. Can't argue there. Good selection.
Good selection. Get Alex Ferguson on, and we'll do house party.
Good point.
Me, you, Alex Ferguson, and Ollie Murs. We'll get a few cans.
Isn't Roy Keane a brilliant summariser? Don't you just love watching him because he's out of the box and he just says it, and he obviously has no mates in football, so he doesn't care.
What I enjoy is he makes other people not know what to say, and I always enjoy that.
Yeah,
you know, but his punditry, whenever you get like him, Carragher, you know, and they really stir the pot with the pundits. You know, they know who's going to clash with whose opinions, and I think he's a great character. Sometimes I think he takes the trolling like maybe a little bit too far, where I'm like, all right, Roy, I know you're doing this for effect, but whenever he is just, you know, he's got those like shark eyes, you know, just he has no emotion in his face, and he
emotion. I wouldn't have wanted to have played with him or under him. I don't think I'd want him as my boss, but no. I mean, he's a brilliant pundit, and as you say, an absolute superb player. Probably, you know, when you look, if you were to do a debate about best captain Man United ever had or most influential captain, you know, it could, I mean, it's controversial, you know, whether him, Brian Robson, Bobby Charlton, whatever, but you know, Keno would take some denying, probably the best captain we've ever had.
Let me ask you this last thing before we wrap it up. What's the number one thing whenever you come back to Northern Ireland that you seek out or that you go and do? Do you have like a ritual, or is there something you can't wait to do as soon as you get home?
Yes, go round to Bennett's on the Hollywood Road and have a fry.
Bennett's is a spot I only discovered last month. I went to see Riverdance with my mum, and we went to Bennett's.
We shouldn't really tell people about it. Just go in there. You get a very good Ulster fry. Matter of fact, when Ruthie comes, that's what she wants. She just loves a big fry in Bennett's.
All right, we'll have to check it out for a fry. EAMONN, thanks so much for doing the podcast. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, my friend.
Really appreciate it.
And stay safe and well to you and everybody listening.
Yep.
Scary times.
Same to yourself. Scary times, and we're just going to drink a lot of tea to get us through it with 2.5 sugars. EAMONN.
Cheers, mate. God bless.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
cheers, sippers. There we have it. The Eamon Holmes episode of the Tea With Me podcast. I'm sure we'll all agree. What a guy. What a guy. Fantastic sense of humour. Pretty deprecating about himself as well. Knowledgeable, wise, physically attractive. Okay, so that was the Eamon Holmes episode of Tea With Me. Honestly, the guests in the next couple of weeks that have kindly agreed to do the podcast are amazing. It's a real mix of people from the world of comedy, acting, sport, that kind of thing. But I'd love to hear from you if there's guests that you would like me to try and get. Because we're just speaking to everybody at the minute, and I'm asking the question, what's the worst that's going to happen? Another restraining order, possibly. But I'm putting the question out there and nobody's really said no. So let's just enjoy that while it lasts, while we're able to get good guests. So if there's a guest you'd like me to get, you can tell me on social media, or what'll be even better is we have a Hotmail account, which is teawithmepodcast@gmail.com. So that's not a Hotmail account. Alright, and I don't know why I turned 75 years old there. But teawithmepodcast@gmail.com. I think that's what it is. Oh god, look, don't worry about it, but I think that's it. Let me know what guests you'd like to see on the podcast, and I will do my damnedest to get them on. Cheers to everybody who listened. I appreciate it. Tea With Me is out Wednesday and Friday. Again, the Patreon is patreon.com/teawithmepodcast. That way you can support the podcast and get the bonus episode that comes out on a Monday. Producer Dan and I just did an episode all about Tiger King, which if you haven't seen it on Netflix, watch it and then listen to our podcast about it. Cheers, guys. Thank you very much for listening or watching the video versions on my YouTube page, Shane Todd. I mean, what a brilliant name. But you'll find it. I back you to find it. Thank you very much for listening. And guys, keep it tea. Alright. Cheers. See you later.